Hey, how are you? I'm doing awesome. It's Brandon Devnich here from i3D Themes with this week's interactive number 91, where we share what we're passionate about and what we've been working on in the i3D Themes Design and Code Labs. Well, it's been a few weeks since I've checked in. I had taken a 2-week vacation from June 6th through I think the 20th. And while I did intend to try to check in with my Friday videos, every time I went to go do them, I was either out of range or in the middle of something. So I'll tell you about that in just a minute. In any case, it's been a fantastic 3 weeks. And so here I'm going to get you caught up on what's been going on with me, what's been going on at i3D Themes and Pegasus. So, June 6th, bundled the family up, and we headed from Victoria, British Columbia, over to Vancouver, rented a motorhome, and traveled 3,000 kilometers over a course of 14 days. I think we had 8 stops, camped in a number of different places, saw parts of the provinces, British Columbia and Alberta, that some of us had never seen before. In fact, I think one of my highlights was going to Lake Louise, which is a very picturesque location that I've never been to. Snapped a few selfies, and it was fantastic. I think if we had the time, we could have probably spent 2 weeks alone in Banff. Took the boys to a place called Drumheller, where they have the Royal Tyrrell Museum, all sorts of dinosaur bones, and then spent some time in Alberta camping, saw coyotes, traveled through Alberta, saw giant wind turbines generating electricity, and then back in through the Rockies, camped at a number of different places, and had a fantastic time. Built a lot of memories. But the first Friday, where I meant to check in, I was right in the middle of whitewater river rafting with my 2 boys. And I thought, maybe pulling out the phone and, hey everybody, how's it go? Bloop. Maybe not a good idea. And the second time, there was no cell reception where we were at. We were in the mountains, and traveling like lots and lots of hours in this motorhome. 30-foot sort of thing. It was $1 per kilometer as we were going up the mountain passes. But we had a great time. And then we got back, and my inbox and my list of to-dos was so ginormous. Last Friday, there was no even... I was just trying to doggy paddle to get out of so much work to do. But while I was away, Colin really stepped up, handled more or less like 3 times the normal volume of messages that come to me while I was away. For some reason, it seemed like the weeks that I was away, I picked just perfect, because those are the weeks that everybody was sending in messages that were, more or less intended for me. Right? But Colin learned a lot. He stepped up to the plate and really delivered on all that. And there were a couple things that required my assistance when I got back, but yeah, he did fantastic. So hand that hat to him. Also, Adam was handling all of the support inquiries and sales questions while I was away for the Pegasus system, and that really meant that I could focus in on having my 2-week vacation. That I don't know that I've ever taken 2 weeks off, ever. Like, I mean, ever. And so to be able to take 2 weeks off without too much worry about what's been going on at back of the office was a real treat. And I'm very grateful for Adam and Colin being able to take the hats that I normally wear and look after that. And so, this sort of leads me on to what, all the different hats that we wear. Sometimes it just accumulates. One of these things that Colin has been doing, he's actually taken on the role of Pegasaas.com. He's going to be doing sort of a rebuild of the homepage, structuring some information, actually doing a redesign, because, of the 2 of us, he is the designer, I'm the programmer. And when we started Pegasus, when I started Pegasus, I did the Pegasaas.com website. I did the API, I did the plugin, I also did the support. And now I've been, very grateful to now have Adam help me and take on support and the initial contact of clients. Colin handling a lot of support for the old Numo systems and WordPress, as well as taking on the Pegasaas.com development and marketing on that aspect of things. And then that means that I get to focus in on one thing, which is really Pegasaas.com and the development of sorry, not Pegasaas.com, but the Pegasaas plugin, which is the development of our automated WordPress website performance optimization plugin. And it was, I don't know, it's almost 10 years ago. I was in a meeting with a medical professional, and we were talking about life balance. And he says, life is often like a 4-burner stove. And you can have your work life, you can have that on high, and you have your personal life, and you might be able to get that on high too. You put anything else on that stove, and you get burner number 3 and burner number 4 going. Having anything too high, things are going to start bubbling over, and you're not going to be able to manage your life, and you're going to burn out. Things are going to overflow, and that's not going to be good for you. Your community services or your hobbies. And very rarely can you have anything more than 2 on anything more than like an 8, if you know what I mean. And that also goes to your job, and you can actually break this down into a number of different things. But what research is finding is that multitasking, while it used to be this great skill, can you multitask and do more than one thing at once? What it actually does is it means that you're doing many different things not at 100%. And if you're going to be dedicating some time to something, you ought to be putting everything into it to make it as best as possible. And now it's not always possible in all situations. And in fact, as in daily life, you do have to multitask. But if you ever get the opportunity to stay focused in on one task for longer, you're going to get a better result than if you're trying to juggle 8 balls in the air. The analogy follows through. You've got 1 ball or maybe 2 balls. It's going to be easy to keep them from falling or losing track of one of them. But you have 8 of them, or you wear 8 hats, as I was using an analogy for earlier. There's possible trouble involved there. And so now we're at this phase where I am able to dedicate more time towards Pegasaas, the plugin itself, and that means that the development of that is going to be more focused. And although the features for performance optimization are more or less all in there's not going to be much else that we're going to be able to do to make websites faster. This is not like you could make them load time be a negative score. A web page that loads in 1.1 seconds is pretty fast. There are going to be limitations to device load times and bandwidth and that sort of thing. But we've more or less tackled just about everything that you can possibly tackle. And now it's going to be the refinement of the analysis of the data. How fast are your web pages and how much they've improved. In any case, it's really important to stay focused as much as possible. And because of that, since I've been back, I've been able to get version 1.8 of the Pegasaas plugin out. And now we've got some, I'm pretty excited about this. I normally don't release software on a Friday. But first thing this morning, I'm like, I've tested this thing a number of different ways. Version 1.8 is now out. So 1.8 of the Pegasaas system doesn't have any critical performance features that may be different on different websites. What it is an interface update. So now you have pagination, where you can switch through results on the overview page. We also have the ability to filter results based upon maybe page speed issues such as image optimization or minification or browser caching. You can filter down the pages that just have issues with just those items. There's also the ability to specify if you want to display all pages and posts, or just pages, or just posts, or just a particular post type, and also the number of pages or number of results to display on the overview page. Really quite awesome. We also have finally implemented, and this has been a long time coming, a non-render blocked version of lazy load. Every lazy load solution out there is built for a render blocked situation, so a slow web page. Web pages are slow because all of the CSS and JavaScript is render blocking. Unless you have Pegasaas, and we have made it so that your web page is what's called non-render blocking. So the resources all load in behind the scenes, and the page loads up instantly. However, lazy loading, because the page loads up instantly, it's very hard to analyze which images are above the fold and shouldn't be lazy loaded. Lazy loading is where you only load the images on demand. And so we've built in a mechanism where we can specify, hey, lazy load everything except the first 5 images or the first 10 or whatever we decide that, or whatever you decide is an acceptable number. And then anything else below that, after that, will be an image that lazy loads. What this means is that you can take a page that maybe has, like a gallery on it that has 50 images that are all below the fold and have them all lazy loaded, as well as having a non-render blocked web page, which means it loads fast because of the non-render blocking and loads fast as well because a whole bunch of images are not loaded that maybe don't need to be loaded. So we finally have that feature in. That was a long time coming. We spent a lot of time thinking about how to do that. And so it was almost implemented before I went away on vacation. But we decided not to jump the gun and launch it, wait till I got back, did some more testing, double checked it, and then put it in with today's release. So we did that. A couple other things I want to share with you. Google Chrome 68 is coming out. I think we're on 67. I just checked my versioning. Coming out very, very soon. And I'm sorry, I could Google this. But probably within the next, I think they said first week in July, Chrome 68 is coming out. And in that, if the web page that you're on is not using a security certificate, such as what we used to call an SSL certificate, many people still call it that, even though we don't SSL is the protocol. I'm not going to geek out about that, but well, I'll call it the SSL certificate, the security certificate. If it doesn't have a security certificate, it's going to be in red, not secured. And there's going to be a percentage of your visitors that come to your web page and see not secure and going to freak out and back out. Now, you may have a web page that doesn't need to secure form data or anything like that. Doesn't really matter. Google's making a big push to say every web page should be secured because we want end-to-end data security regardless. And so this is a big push to make sure all web pages are using some sort of security certificate installed on the web page. Now, if you don't have one yet, if you go to yourwebsite.com and it doesn't have a padlock that's, unbroken, if it doesn't have a padlock or isn't, green up there that says secured, you really, really, really should move on this, because there's the big possibility that with this update, and because Chrome is the dominant web browser, you really most people are using Chrome, and it's going to start saying your web page is not secured. You can see where this is going. And if you've got a lot of people out there like, oh no, not secure, that's not good, I don't want to go to this website. So if you're using our web hosting, the security certificate is free. It's included. We use an open certificate authority, and that means that you just press a button and within 15 seconds your site has a security certificate. If you're using somebody else, they may charge you for it. It can be anywhere from $49 to $349. I would recommend that maybe not pay $349. If you can get away with $100 for a certificate and you're not into switching hosting to a provider that includes certificates for free, then $100 is not a bad cost. But really, you should look at this. This is going to be very, very important. It's going to impact things. Google also, it's a small ranking factor whether or not you have a security certificate on all of your pages. So I would, we recommend, just do it. Especially if you have access to a website that uses the open certificate authority called Let's Encrypt, which we do. So I would recommend taking a look at that. And that's sort of in line with Google rolling out their mobile first index, which is happening pretty much as of July here. They've been doing it in increments over the last couple months. With this, as of July, speed, the web page speed, is a ranking signal. So if you have a really, really, really slow website, that's going to impact where you are found within search. So there's a lot of big changes coming down for websites and their performance and their security coming in July. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me. And this weekend, it's a long weekend. I just remembered. It's Canada Day on Monday. No, on Sunday. Facepalm. Canada Day on Sunday, which means we're taking Monday off. That makes that the 2nd. So July 4th being Wednesday, we are actually here because we're Canadian. But for our friends south of the border that are celebrating Independence Day, happy Independence Day to you. But yes, we are taking a long weekend, but we will see you again next week. Hope you have great plans for the weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.